Shiny Pokémon are identical to every single Pokémon in every way, except for one. They are slightly different colored and usually difficult to find. Same stats, same abilities, just an aesthetic change. And they're fun, they're colorful, and honestly they are one of the most educational ways I ever found to learn about odds and statistics. If I have been playing these games for literal decades and never once did I manage to find that 1 in 8,000 chance, what are the odds that I'm winning the national lottery with odds of 1 in 50 million? Uneducated people will say, well, but there's a chance. But me, an intellectual who has gone 4 times over odds trying to get a Masuda egg, knows that that's not gonna happen and you might as well just go back to work tomorrow. Now that Pokemon games are all fancy and open world, finding a shiny has been easier than ever. Again, I have gone through decades playing these games without seeing a single sparkle, but 1 hour into Scarlet and Violet, I ran upon a full odds shiny Rookidee. But is it as fun as before? Now that shinies are less rare, do they also have less value? Do we need to make sure that we have something super, ultra rare? If your shiny doesn't have a reclusive rare mark, shouldn't you just as well release it already? Why do we even hunt for shiny Pokemon in the first place? People spend days, months, and some infamous YouTubers even spend years of their lives looking for a specific, differently colored line of code. And most often than not, they look exactly the same when they just don't look flat out worse than their regular counterparts. Hashtag death to green shinies. Game Freak, we know you were lazy in Gen 2. We know you just let the colors change randomly, but it's fine, you can recolor the shinies. You know we love this shit. Nobody's gonna judge you, please recolor them. I don't know, sometimes I feel like Game Freak knows that shiny have been a big deal of post-game. In the last 10 years at least, but I don't think they really like how much people love shinies. I mean, the meetings to decide official Pokemon designs and colors must be hell on earth, don't get me wrong. And then they have to give up their full toy branding to create a completely different color set. I think that's why they tried to change the bare minimum in the colors of their most protected designs, such as Ceruledge for example. You know, it would be against brand guidelines to give it Armor Rouge colors, so let's just change the eye and call it a day. Again, speculating and not the topic of the video, let me just go back. Where was I? Yes, are shinies still worth something now that you can just catch multiple in a single day? Now that people will just hack boxes and boxes of those and distribute on Wondertrade with a website nickname, and shiny odds are super low on Pokémon Go, why do we still spend time and energy looking for shinies? Why do we shiny hunt? To try and answer that, I will tell you my personal story. I have been playing Pokemon since I could form memories, and I started in Gen 1, as you do when you are over 25, I guess. I had my Pokemon Yellow cartridge that I would always start a new save file, reach Vermilion City, not know how to progress because I couldn't read English, start the save file again. And it was as a kid playing Gen 1 that I had my first full shiny team. That's bullshit, some of you might say, because the Game Boy was fully green and shinies were only introduced in Gen 2. You'll be partly correct. My shiny Pokemon were not really shiny Pokemon, but I was also a very avid player of Pokemon Stadium. It was the only way where I could battle and play my favorite game with my brother and my friends, because to this day I have yet to see a real link cable in my life. And Pokemon Stadium had this neat little feature that if your Pokemon had a nickname, they would show up in a completely different hue in the game. And to see the nice different colored Pokemon and distinguish mine from the generic rental Pokemon of the game, I would just give them the shittiest nicknames ever known to trainers. My Pikachu was P-Blue, my Nidoran was Knee-Red. Although the games did not really make them blue and red, they were in a way shiny. And they felt special and unique to me because they looked a tiny little bit different. And I kept doing these terrible nicknames up until Gen 4. I still have my Torterra on Pokemon Home being called Tor Green, and I really wish I could name rate that out of it. But it's life, I was 10. It's fine. As you might expect, after Gen 1, my 100% shiny rate and my shiny luck went down the water. Now I was dealing with full odds, 1 out of 8,000, and I had no way to make my life any easier. No Masuda methods, no fish shining, no Pokéradar, just luck. But I did manage to find one shiny Pokemon in Gen 2. Gyarados, yeah, the Lake of Rage Gyarados, which is another 100% encounter, and I have 3 of them in Pokemon Home. Life would not be easier for me for a long time. I played through Gen 3 without seeing a single shiny, Gen 4 as well. Of course, I had some shinies from Mr. Gifts in those days that I really love, such as my shiny Entei from the Win 2011 giveaway, and my shiny Pichu, who was friends with my spiky-eared Pichu. By the way, my spiky-eared Pichu remains to this day stuck on my Soul Silver cartridge because Game Freak would not move out of it. Game Freak, let my Pichu out, please, I beg. It's been here for 10 years, I wanna get it back. But yes, I had some shinies, but they were given to me, I did not really catch them. Shiny hunters on those days would be soft resetting for months, walking into random encounters for hours and hours, and honestly, even though I liked shiny Pokemon, I could never get myself to spend more than a few hours doing that. If a shiny Pokemon was to come, it would need to go out and find me. And so, in Gen 5, after 12 years playing this game, I have my first and only full odds 1 in 8,000 shiny encounter. It was a Woobat, in a cave. I definitely did not expect it, and I didn't even have space to have him on my team, but it was a very nice surprise. But I think the funniest lesson here is that, with original odds, it took me, a non-shiny hunter who played all generations quite a bit, short of 12 years to find one. And I would never find another one in those odds, because in the next generation, they would be halved, and things would start getting more interesting. In Pokemon X and Y, with odds of 1 in 4,000, I still didn't find anything in my regular playthrough. I was a bit older and I could understand a bit better how these things worked, so I decided to actively shiny hunt for the first time. I fish chained a shiny Shinsho, now a Lantern, and nicknamed it Ultraviolet. I also caught a shiny Teddy Ursa in a friend safari, but for some reason I traded it off in the same day. I don't really remember what happened then. And lastly, while I was breeding for 5 IV Pokemon, as you did in the day, I accidentally Masuda meted one of my favorite Pokemon as a shiny, a Phanpy, which I nicknamed Fibonacci. Gen 7 came and went and no shinies appeared in Alola for me. Gen 8 as well, and there were also no methods that caught my attention there in the first place. And all of that changed when we got Legends Arceus. I cannot understate how much that game was a game changer in shiny hunting to me. And I believe for lots of other players as well. Because, you know, random encounters are nice, but they do get a bit boring. I agree that being able to soft reset for legendaries is better than not getting any legendaries at all. The problem is that it's just more of the same for hours and hours, and in my opinion, I don't get the feeling that I'm in the hunt for anything. Legends Arceus was the first game that we actually could look for shinies in the overworld, and that increased our encounter rate astronomically. The odds are the same, 1 in 4,000, but in generations before, you were seeing 1 Pokemon every 20 seconds. In Legends, you were seeing 15 Pokemon spawn right around you, all the time. And so it happened to me. I was in the Crimson Marlands, a few hours into the game when I heard a noise. And my heart just jumped. I didn't see anything, but I knew there was a shiny Pokemon around. I looked for a few seconds, and I saw a shiny Budo. I absolutely love Roselia, and I knew I could not mess this up. I didn't even save properly, I just went for it. And I caught the first shiny in my entire life that I would be able to use in a regular story playthrough. This got me super excited, and I started looking more and more into this. I learned how to do the mass outbreaks method, and I quickly decided that I wanted to have more shinies in my team. I called shiny Chimchar, shiny Piplup, and shiny Ralts. I beat Legends Arceus with 4 shinies on my team. And after I finished the game, I got addicted to mass outbreaks. I think they, alongside the massive mass outbreaks, are incredible mechanics to explore in a post-game. They increase your odds in a way that you know you are eventually gonna get rewarded, but sometimes your luck is just drained out, and you are shiny hunting a Rowlet for 5 days straight without seeing anything. And you think that your save file is corrupted and that something must be wrong, until the shiny gods smile at you and you caught 3 of them in the span of 15 minutes. It's a very satisfying feeling that I never had in a Pokemon game before, and that was when I officially became a shiny hunter. I had a few boxes filled with shinies when Scarlet and Violet came out, and I was excited to see if they would keep the outbreak mechanics. They did, although they removed a few features that fans really like, such as the sparkles and the sound when the shiny spawns. I understand that it is an accessibility issue and it probably caused me to miss a bunch of shinies, but it didn't affect me that much, to be honest. Mostly because 1 hour into the game with no badges, I casually ran into a full odds shiny Rookidee, and I knew that I was in for a treat. I was still in the shiny hunting craze and I had caught a shiny Peliphin, a Ceruledge, Wiglet, and a Setoro for my main team in the game. I have countless hours in Scarlet and Violet just doing outbreaks. More time just for shiny hunting than I ever did in any other game before. I enjoyed it so much that it even incentivized me to go back to older games and take a second look at their mechanics. I rediscovered the insane shiny odds of Dynamax Adventures and caught myself a shiny Latias on my first try. It was genuinely insane. I was laughing out loud of how absurd it was. Since then, I've been trying to find Suicune and Lugia, but the AI of the NPCs gets me too angry to keep trying. If anyone wants to join me on those, do let me know. And that's basically how I fell in love with shiny hunting. My latest hunt has been looking for all the starters in the Indigo disc, and I still have Grookey and Sabo to get. But I'm so happy to see so many boxes filled with shinies, and it's something that I could never imagine having a few years ago. And then you ask me, what are these shinies worth? Is my 1 in 8,000 shiny Woobat worth more than the shiny Latias I got on my first try? Is it about effort? As with everything in life, I think it's about connection. Of course, I cherish Ultraviolet and Fibonacci a lot because they have been with me for a decade. But I also cherish Gerard, my shiny Zorua, because of how fun of a hunt it was to catch it when it was disguised as a Mischief. And I cherish my P-Blue, the slightly green Pikachu on Pokémon Stadium, where every single Pokémon was kind of shiny. Regardless if the odds are 1 in 8,000 or 100%, I think those memories, those connections, they are kind of lost when you get a random Pokémon with a website name on Wondertrade. Or when you just generate something in 5 seconds in PK hacks. It's not the same, there's no story, it lacks meaning. A few weeks ago, I saw a distribution of a hacked Win 2011 event, Shiny Entei online. It was the same one that I received as a mystery gift back in 2011. And it's literally the same Pokemon, it's binary code, the data points are the same. But is the one you get in 5 seconds from a random person online worth the same as the one I've been carrying around, battling with, moving from cartridge to cartridge for the past 13 years? I mean, not for me, I'm sorry. I cherish my shiny Articuno that I got in Pokémon Go, because paired with my shiny Ninetales, we got to Master Rank in Scarlet and Violet. I cherish my shiny Roserade that appeared unannounced in Legends Arceus. And I cherish my spiky-eared Pichu because he has a funny ear, even though he has the same color as every single other Pichu. In the end, it's just a game. It's just lines of code. What gives it meaning is the stories you tell. What about you? What are your best shiny Pokemon stories? Did you ever find a 1 in 8,000 one? Or maybe a shiny marked authentic Sinistea? Drop a comment below, like, subscribe to my channel. I am a very, very small YouTuber and I need your engagement to go on. I have lots of ideas for story videos, Nuzlockes, and I would love to keep talking about these subjects. But I have a day job, so the more engagement I get, the more I can dedicate to this. I would also like to finalize the video with 2 messages for Game Freak. Number 1. No more green shinies, I beg. Let's redesign our shinies. There's nothing wrong with changing your mind. Nobody's going to judge you. We are all allowed to make mistakes. Start with Scizor. Give us black Scizor. The second message is, please, 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 let me get my spiky-eared Pichu back. He's just a baby boy and he's stuck on a cartridge. Hashtag let Pichu out.